Kröhm, it's been a while since my last video, so to all of my 5 viewers, 2 of which are me, I'm sorry, I have been busy, totally not being a chud. I got a job, I was not unemployed anymore. I worked a few weeks at the cinema right at the time the Odyssey released. Bad casting, good movie, absolute cinema, which reminded me of another ancient war, more destructive than Troy and more destructive than any war in history. Ladies and gentlemen, in this backward video series we have reached the start of Finnish history, the abyss of the iceberg, the Finno-Korean Hyperwar. To explain the conflict we must firstly explain some context. In the beginning God let mankind free from the Garden of Eden in Greenland. Humans migrated to a fertile steppe called the Great Turan and established small civilizations there. The godless Nephilims, fallen angels, however, found these civilizations of depravity perfect for them and moved to the Turan. The arrival of the Nephilim prompted the Turanis to split into 2 groups, the Finno-Koreans and the Hyperwar. The Finno-Koreans migrated west into Europe and the Hyperwar east into Asia. Over the next thousands of years, the Nephilim kept these 2 ancient cousins distant as they created their own great empires. At a certain point, however, around 8300 BC, both empires found out about their ancestral homeland and claimed it for them. The Finno-Koreans took the initiative and with the leadership of General Spurdosparde occupied the Great Turan. The Koreans in response sent their own peacekeeping force to ensure peace in their homeland. These escalated into the Battle of the Turan, where Finno-Korean Ursine cavalry faced Korean proto-ninjas. The battle led to the Nephilim evacuating Turan in the event known as the Departure of the Nephilim. The battle ended in a strategic stalemate, aka a Finnish occupation of Turan. It however started a millennia-long worldwide war that would scar the world until today. The mysterious esoteric wizard kingdom of Lemuria allied with the Finno-Koreans at the start of the war. They opened the Indian front of the war, which began with a Huan attempt to kick the Lemurians out of the war. They swiftly conquered the Indian subcontinent, however they could not cross over to Lemuria as Lemurian wizards destroyed all Huan technology every time they tried. With common Indians losing their devices 3 times a week, they decided to upload their porn onto a book called the Kama Sutra, which is one of the surviving relics of the conflict. Eventually, after a few hundred years, the Huan crossed into Lemuria, but the continent vanished without a trace. The Finns made a surprise invasion from space to the middle of Central Asia and kicked out the Koreans with the legendary leadership of General Genghis Khan. The front was pushed all the way to Afghanistan, and in an effort to push the Huan back out of India, the Finns disastrously lost the Battle of Punjab, after which the Koreans conquered all of the Finnish colonies in the Middle East, including Finnish Egypt. The Koreans laid siege to Istanbul and were eventually stopped by the Finnish-built Bosnian Pyramid defense line. At this point we can discuss the general tropes of the war. Some space battles were fought, but with connections being constantly cut, the space fleets of Koreans and Finns were left like sitting ducks in the endless galaxy. They were silently taken down by the ancient lizard people of space. As the war dragged on, the technological level of the armies deteriorated. At the start, both armies could use superhuman technology, use mind-enhancing superpowers, and cut down 100 modern-day soldiers within seconds. 2000 years later, at the end of the conflict, technology had descended to the level of ancient Rome or such, with clubs and swords and very primal armor. The war caused irreparable damage to the planet, the cultures, technology and advancements of the human race. Back to the war, the next great event happened in the Battle of the Urals, where Finnish Jedi Knights bravely resisted a 200 times larger force of Korean cyber ninjas. This feat caused the Koreans to lose interest in the Eastern Front, and instead exploit their Egyptian holdings to launch a naval invasion of Europe. The Jedi Knights were moved to the Alpine Line, a completely artificial line of massive triangle-shaped forts which are still standing today. Despite these enormous defense efforts, the Koreans conquered much of mainland Europe soon enough. In this helped the Korean-backed Indo-European rebellion led by Julius Caesar. The Indo-Europeans allied with Korea committed ethnic cleansing in the former core areas of the Finnish Empire, which is why you never find authentic Finnish people in Normandy or something. At this point I want to bring up the Emu Empire, which was a great power of Oceania and Asia at the time. They were neutral in the conflict but abused Korea's conflict to occupy Japan. The occupation and bloodshed involved divided the Emu Empire into pro- and anti-imperialist camps, which devolved into a brutal civil war in which the first autism mass array was used, which is the reason emus are not more advanced than humans anymore. Koreans would use this same mass weapon to end the conflict 100 years later. The war continued with the Indo-European rebellion spreading to the gates of Helsinki, the ancient Finnish capital, which was once a great city, now ruined by spiritual Helsinkiness. The siege of Helsinki lasted a few hundred years, took millions of lives on both sides, and made Stalingrad look like child play. The Finns responded with a counterattack through Siberia and Goguryeo, ending at the gates of Pyongyang, the Korean capital, effectively leading the conflict into a double checkmate. Another counterattack in the Middle East saw the Finns push Koreans out of Turkey and Palestine through to Egypt, which was liberated and cleansed of all Koreans. This made Egypt the most Finnish part of the Finnish Empire, and would remain so for thousands of years before the exodus north. During the siege of Pyongyang, the Huan Emperor died, and the Finns took the opportunity to launch the largest military operation in history, Operation Tavallinen, in which Finnish forces in a matter of weeks retook large swaths of Eurasia. It is also infamous for the third Neanderthal genocide that followed the Finnish reoccupation. The destruction of Huan forces led to the Korean officers revolting, leading to civil war. In the midst of the chaos, Finnish forces entered Pyongyang. Just before Korean capitulation, Korean ninja agents in Egypt launched mass autism arrays stolen from the emus hidden in the Finnish-built pyramids. The arrays took 3 inches of average penis size of the Huan population and took the social skills of all Finns. The lack of social cohesion led to the Finnish empire collapsing, and with both parties unable to fight, the war withered into history. The Finnish population retreated into 2 hotspots, to Finland, or so-called Hyperborea, and to Egypt, the new cultural center. The city of Troy was also founded by the Finnish elite as a beach resort, but due to constant Indo-European raids it had to be walled off. These walls would fall alongside the city in the Trojan War some 7,000 years after the Finno-Korean Hyperwar. The power vacuum in Europe was filled by Caesar's Indo-European empire, stretching from the Atlantic to India. The global collapse of civilization enabled the briefly aforementioned lizard people to come and extract the Earth's resources, but luckily for us the mysterious race of Anunnakis destroyed their home planet, forcing the lizards to retreat before genociding all of humanity forever. Some of the lizards are alleged to have stayed though, and I 100% believe this. The Anunnakis would come to Earth and help the humans rebuild, giving them tools to reinvent fire, agriculture and writing. They would eventually, however, find the ancient Finnish artifacts, which were so advanced it scared them, and to stop humanity from ever reaching the same level, they flooded the Earth, killing 99% of humans. After the flood, the Indo-European empire fell apart into smaller nations puppeted by the Grandmaster Jakub, who turned the Neanderthal Indo-Europeans into white people. Over time, the Egyptian culture distanced itself from Finland, Hyperborea became just a myth, and Troy was destroyed. Most of the evidence was in a way or another lost to time. In the end, Indo-European Romans led by Julius Caesar destroyed the Egypto-Finnish nation, forcing them to flee to their ancient homeland Hyperborea, led by our prophet Kalev, and that is where we started the first time. Now that this series is finally done with, I promise to upload more videos and better videos. Until then.